Hello, Internet. I'm me. And yes, I'm in a white t-shirt because well, where I am, it's about 1:35 in the morning. Well, I'm here to review Go Kaiju episode. Oh, wait, no, I'm not. This is a problem. Anywho, this is actually going to be my first review of Kamen Rider Fourze number 2, Alone. This is actually going to be my raw review. So, for those who don't know very much about me, I have spoken Japanese before. I've learned. でも、まだ上手じゃありませんだ。So I'm gonna get some things wrong at some points. Don't rip my balls off if you disagree with me on some points on this episode, because this episode actually brings up a lot of things that are a little contrary to the Kamen Rider continuity. But I have some theories for it that could probably work out the whole continuity issues and iron out some of the problems. So let's get started. And no, the Gokaiger episode will not be in this video. That will be in the next video. I'm waiting for Gokaiger subbed due to the fact that I can't actually give you the link to it because it is actually only being streamed through Total, a Japanese streaming company that streams live TV, and you get all the commercials and crap, and you don't really want the commercials. Let's start off with the good news about this episode. This episode is actually very well put together. This episode is for those who haven't really read the status or the summaries or previews for Kamen Rider Fourze. But even if you did, there are some informational facts in here that you would like to know. I'm not going to spoil it because some of it is actually pretty interesting and a lot of things that you need to see for yourself and come up with little theories in your head. You might actually pick up some hints and movements that I didn't even pick up, so that's actually going to be a pretty good thing. So let's start off with let's start at the beginning. Last time we saw the guy in the robot. Still don't have a name for him because I keep forgetting to pay attention to his damn name. Because actually, uh, I'll explain it later on, but something else caught my attention that I'm gonna have to address later. Gintaro, I think that's his name, Gintaro or Gantaro, is being held as Forzen in a robot's hand, being shaken like a madman, and they get into like a little tussle, and then they end it because it actually turns out that the Zodiac or the Zodiaceron, whatever the hell they call it, that was attacking is not dead. It simply was knocked out, or it escaped. Because it turns out you can't kill them on Earth. And I'll get more on that later. And so it's actually a switch. It's an astro switch, but it leaves the user's body hollow, while the spirit and mind of the body, or from what I can gather, spirit and mind, takes over the monster and attacks. Now remember, this is a raw review. My Japanese is rusty. I've lost the sound quality to this episode was off, and my Japanese is so rusty. Bits and pieces of sentences I completely leave out. So with this explained, they're like, oh crap, it's not dead. It could come back at any moment, whoever has the switch. And it turns out the switch is being given to students, sorry, not children, in the high school to use for their own thing. Like the Greeds did for Yummies back in Kamen Rider O's. Like the one where the Shota combination comes out, where they gave the greed. I forgot what it was, that it fed off of something and created eggs. But anywho, back to the episode because I'm like rambling off for no reason. After that, you just pretty much get the explanation of, oh, that locker goes to the moon. Yes, you're on the moon. That space station that's exploded in the first episode, you get the girl telling Gintaro that the douchebag father died in that explosion, and that's pretty much it. And then you figure out who the guy with the astro switch is who is the Orion monster, and that is actually pretty obvious, and it's the little servant boy to the American football captain. Duh. You treat him like crap. You kick him around. No shit, he's gonna have the Astro Switch and try to kill you. And he does. And not only does he get the Astro Switch, a strange and actually mysterious person upgrades the Switch, making him more powerful and actually have a shield and a sword now. Of course, the guy, douche, I really don't remember his name. I gotta get his name, but he comes over, gives Gentaro the belt, and goes, "You know what? You're not such a bad guy. I think you can do this." Gives him the belt, and he henshins. And this is actually a really good henshin. I forgot to address this in the first review because I was crunched for time and trying to get into the Super Sentai. But man, I love this henshin. I love this henshin. Why? Mostly the sound effects. That 3, 2, 1, and I was like, it's just something about that robotic voice. This is a good year for Japanese announcers. You have the O's belt, you have the Gokaiger announcer, and you have that fucking robotic voice. It is just awesome. I don't know if it's the same guy or a different guy. I don't know. Somebody tell me. But yeah, he henshins, and this is a real henshin now because he knows what he's doing, and they fight. But the one thing I'm worrying about this series is it's becoming a little more and more like Super Sentai, not the new stuff, but more of the old, where the enemy is sitting right there intending to kill you, and you're carrying on a conversation, and the enemy is just politely sitting there waiting for your conversation to be over. Yep. Oh, you're done talking? Oh, you henshin too. Oh, that's cool. Oh, now I'll attack. Yeah, see, that was a problem. That was a problem. And this action scene wasn't as fantastic as the first one. It was more of a, you could tell this episode was more for explanation and more emphasis on what is going on in this series. So the action was put, of course, on the side. And actually, it turns out you cannot kill, like I said, you cannot kill any of the Zodiacs on Earth. What he has to do is he has to hit them in the air, and then he has to take his new, of course, every Kamen Rider. The rider part of the name means that they get a bike. His bike attaches to that giant rover robot, which turns into a launch pad, launching the bike up into space. And so, of course, he has to hit the enemy into the air, hit the enemy with his bike, send them into space, then kill them. That's the only way you can, I think, purify the Switch, and it turns into actually a Switch, an Astro Switch that he can use. And thanks to a Japanese commercial that I found, there are 40 switches. Yep, 40 switches. Now we're going to get on to this part where I should have probably hurried up to this part, but it doesn't matter to me. This part, now, Kamen Rider fans, really hardcore Kamen Rider fans, when you watch this episode, please do not, I know people already don't like Kamen Rider fourze because it's so goofy and silly, but please do not get your balls in a knot. Right now, I'm going to tell you something that's going to probably piss you off, but roll with it. Trust me. Okay, so this emo girl who's mysterious for some reason, I don't know why, I don't care. She's really just there to say, hey, you're a Kamen Rider. And they're like, what's a Kamen Rider? And she pulls out her iPad and shows a video of Kamen Rider 1. And I'm like, cool, we all expected that. Kamen Rider 1's here. It's following that canon. And then it shows Kamen Rider 2. I'm like, yeah, they met up. They were in a team up. Yeah, cool. And then Kamen Rider Agito. Ooh. Damn. the Kamen Rider fans are not going to like this. Why? Because in Kamen Rider Decade, they established that every Kamen Rider is sitting in his own different little universe. Having Kamen Rider Agito there breaks that theory. Not good. Not good for them. But, I have another theory. You say Kamen Riders cannot be in the same universe because Kamen Rider doesn't work that way. Here's a question. If there's a Kamen Rider in each and every universe, shouldn't there be a universe where all the Kamen Rider are together? Or at least a portion of the Kamen Riders are together and know of each other? I mean, come on, think about all the times the Kamen Riders have saved the world in front of the public while things were being destroyed in the middle of a city. Yeah, they're known. They have to be known. So, for them to be obscure and unknown in Japan, where somebody has a video of them, is kind of silly. But, think about this. I'm still going with the whole, this is a universe where all the Kamen Rider are together, and Decade was a Kamen Rider universe where none of the Kamen Riders were together. That makes sense. It's like like the new Star Trek. It's not the original Star Trek because it's an alternate universe. You're following a different story. So I'm just saying, people, Kamen Rider fans. I'm a Kamen Rider fan too. Probably not as big, but please, just go with it. This is a good series. This is a good episode. It's actually a good 8 out of 10 for me. A solid 8 out of 10. It's not the best. It's not as fantastic as the first episode, but it actually does good on what it needs to do. And the next episode, we're all going to enjoy that episode if you're a guy, because that has a beauty pageant with Japanese girls in bikinis. Oh, yeah. And actually, before I go on, before we go up, see you next time, let me explain something. The switches are silly. Yes, I said that. Why? But they're brilliant. Why? Because the switches, when you hear what they do, you think they're retarded. He has a radar switch. I thought that was stupid. Why do you need a radar switch? And then he used it to track with missiles. That's pretty creative. He had a parachute switch. I knew of the parachute switch. And I thought, you're a Kamen Rider. You can drop from any damn height and be okay. Until I figured out he has to go into space to kill his enemies and then fall back. He'll need the parachutes. And now there's going to be a camera switch. Like a video camera. Like this web camera I'm using right now. Switch. Now, before you go, well, it could be useful. Yeah, I already know how it's going to be used. I'm just not going to tell you. Well, so, thank you guys for coming in. Thank you guys for watching. And I will come back tomorrow with my Kaizoku Sentai Gokaiger episode review. And you will not be disappointed. I will have a subbed version of Kamen Rider fourze down in the description below, but you're going to have to wait on it until mid-tomorrow when somebody actually gets the subbing, or I get the subbing, done right. Because I don't want to actually end up guessing on some of the words. So, until next time, guys, peace.